morning everyone, welcome to this edition of Weekly Roundup. Myself Nilesh and I will be taking this session. In this session we will cover important development of the last week. Before we start today's session, let's see the headlines. In this session we will cover 5 main news, 1 personality news and 6 quick updates. In main news, first main news is about University Grant Commission's Promotion of Equity in Higher Education Institution Regulations 2026. Then second main news is about United Nations, as United Nations Secretary General said that rule of law is the cornerstone of the global peace and security. Then third main news is about mother of all deals, that is India and European Union concluded the landmark free trade agreement. Then fourth main news is about the entrepreneurial state. This new word is coined by the Economic Survey of 2025-26. And sixth main news is about river deltas, as new studies suggest that over half of the Indian major river deltas are sinking. In personality in news, we will cover Lala Lajpat. So let's start today's session. So first main news of the day is University Grant Commission's Promotion of Equity in Higher Education Institutions Regulation 2026. As these regulations came, there was widespread protest against it and for it. So we will see what are these regulations, what are their implications and why there were protests against it. What is this topic important for? So this topic is important for GS paper 2, that is important aspect of governance. So let's see the development. So development is that the University Grant Commission gave these regulations, and now after wide scale protest, Supreme Court have stayed these regulations because Supreme Court say these are the too sweeping and too extreme. So this is the context. Before we discuss what are these regulations and what are their implications, let's see why there was huge opposition and why there was huge support for these regulations. So first we will see what was the purpose of these regulations. So regulations were there for the bringing equity in the higher education institution and reduce the caste-based and other discriminations in the higher education system. Why people are opposing it and why they are supporting it. So first we will see why people are supporting it. So some people are supporting it because it is fact that at higher education institution there is discrimination on the basis of caste, religion or even gender. So basically people are supporting it for bringing equality. So bringing equality, that is the one aspect, that there should not be discrimination based on this thing. That was the one aspect. Then secondly, caste is taking new forms. This was the question previously asked in the UPSC, that caste is taking new forms. And what are these new forms? Firstly in the political arena, then in the education systems, even in Delhi University student elections, the important aspect is what? That is caste. The candidate's caste is very important when students are giving them votes. So that is also one of the aspect. And then there is ragging based on caste. So in this context, many students have committed suicide. As per the NCRB data 2022, almost 13,000 students have committed suicide, and many of them committed suicide because of the caste-based discrimination, as suggested by the National Task Force constituted by the Supreme Court to see and investigate these student suicides. And in that case, the task force suggested that the caste-based discrimination is one of the factors which is leading to the mass suicide. And the case regarding it is Amit Kumar versus Union of India. So please remember this case. In this case, Supreme Court constituted the national task force, and it also suggested that the caste based discrimination is there and is in fact affecting the equality in the higher education institution. So this is the case for the supporting these regulation. Then why students are opposing these regulations? So firstly, there is no safeguard of any kind even in the case of ragging for the general category students. Secondly, this can be misused. So this argument was given in the Supreme Court, and the argument is that what if the SC/ST students or the seniors commit ragging on the general candidate, and if general candidate goes to report that ragging, they even can misuse these regulations. So this is second thing. Then third thing is that there are equity committees which are formed under this regulation, and in those equity committees there is no representation of general category. Also, there are some of the vague terms such as indirect discrimination. So regulation doesn't define what are these indirect discrimination in the regulation. So these are some of the concerns which were raised, and that is why there were huge protests. Supreme Court said that these regulations have the impact of the societal harmony and unity, because there was large drift between the students also. So that is why Supreme Court stated this regulation. Now we will see what is the background. So firstly, we already see that what is the aim. So aim is to eliminate discrimination, and discrimination on the ground of what? Caste, religion, gender, race, place of birth, or even disability. So though there is protest based on the caste, but these are also consideration when there is discrimination, that is religion, gender, race, place of birth, and even the disability. Then these regulations are in line with the National Education Policy 2020. So please remember that even the National Education Policy says that there should be equity and there should be some regulation and rules regarding it. So these regulations are in line with the National Education Policy. Then these regulations define the caste-based discrimination. And what is the caste-based discrimination? So it says that discrimination only on the basis of caste or the tribe against the member of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, and the other backward classes. So what is the change? These regulations were there from the 2012, and these were actually enforced by the institutional mechanism in 2026, these new regulations. But other backward classes was not included there. Here other backward classes are also included. Please remember the case, that is the Abeda Tadvi versus Union of India. So in this case, Supreme Court in 2020 told UGC to bring some of the institutional mechanism to enforce the 2012 regulation, and that is why these regulations came. So this case is also important. Please remember these cases. You can quote these cases in your answer. So this is the background and the objective of the regulation. Now we will see nitty-gritties of this regulation, and the first thing is about duty of the higher education institutions. As this was also highlighted by the National Task Force, as we already discussed, there also they emphasize on the duty of the higher education institutions. Here also it says that the higher education institution must prevent and eradicate discrimination and promote equity among the all stakeholders, head of the institution responsible for the strict implementation. That is the one thing. Then second thing is about equal opportunity center. So please remember this thing. What is equal opportunity center? So equal opportunity center will support, that is, disadvantaged groups. Then they will give guidance and counseling also, and run inclusion programs. And who will see these inclusion programs? That is the equity ambassadors. That is the third point, that is equity squads and the equity ambassadors. And what will these equity squad do? They will have the vigilance and they will see that there is no caste based or other discrimination going on in the campuses. They will have the vigilance, and this equity ambassador will promote the equity measures suggested by the equal opportunity centers. So this is the third point. Then there is equity committee. As we already discussed, that equity committee will have the members, and those members will be from the SC, ST, OBC, women and physically disabled people, but there is no representation to the economically backward classes or general classes. There may be, but they are not given in the regulation, so it is not mandatory. So this was one of the issue that there were protests going on. Then there is grievance redressal appeal. So equity committee will actually see the complaints register with them, and they will give the decision within 15 days. And if that decision is not favorable for the candidate or the student, they can appeal to the grievance redressal mechanism. There will be ombudsman, right? And it will be within 1 month of the 1 month after the report or the any verdict given by the equity committee. Then the ombudsman will see this case, and they will see that within 30 days they will also give some verdict. So this is about the grievance redressal mechanism. Then there is monitoring mechanism. So there will be monitoring mechanism at the national level, and all education institutions will give them annual report. And then finally there will be penalties. And what are the penalties? If these regulations are not implemented properly, even the grants can be stopped, and even the degree programs or the online programs can be removed from the education institution. So this is all about it. This is about the first news. Now we will see related previous year question. So what is the previous year question? So first question is about which of the following of the Constitution of India have the bearing on the education? And first is directive principle. Secondly, it is about the rural and urban local bodies. Then 5th schedule, then 6th schedule, and then 7th schedule. So DPSP actually have, then in schedule 11, local bodies have to take decision about the education. Then 5th and 6th schedule also have the provisions of that special areas where education shall be promoted. And then 7th schedule have the education in the concurrent list. Firstly, it was in state list, but by the amendment it was shifted to the concurrent list. So what is the answer? The answer is D, all up above. So this is the first MCQ. Then see the mains question. So mains question is a caste system is assuming the new identities and associational forms. Hence caste system cannot be eradicated in India. As we already discussed, which are the new forms caste system is taking. And this second thing is that hence caste system cannot be eradicated in India. Here you should give your own understanding that caste system can be eradicated, and what will be and what shall be measures taken to eradicate the caste system. So this should be your argument in this answer. This is all about first main news. Now we will see second main news of the day. So second main news of the day is rule of law is the cornerstone of the global peace and security as stated by the United Nations General Secretary. And this is important for your paper 2, that is important international institutions, agencies, fora and their structure and mandate. In this news we will see what is the purpose of the UN, why it was formed, what are its important bodies, what is international law, and how UN is actually implementing the international law. So let's start the discussion. So we already see what is the background. Now we will see about the UN. Why UN was formed? So after Second World War, League of Nations was redundant. It was not helpful. League of Nations was formed after World War I, and its purpose was to avoid any large-scale conflict or the World War-like situation after the World War I. But it failed miserably, and there was World War II within the span of 20 years. That is why there was a need of some important body or the organization which will be effective than the League of Nations, and that is why United Nations Charter was signed at San Francisco in 1945, and there were 6 main organs formed under it, and there are 15 specialized agencies. So this is the background of the UN. Now we will see these 6 main organs. So first is that United Nations General Assembly, then United Nations Security Council, then ECOSOC, Economic and Social Council, then Trusteeship Council, then ICJ, International Court of Justice, and then Secretariat. So these are the 6 main organs of the UN. United Nations General Assembly have 193 members, and each member have the single vote. So this is the large body having the representation almost all the independent countries. This is very important. Secondly, UN is very important. Every single year there is question in the mains or the prelims regarding the UN or its agencies, its specialized agencies. In that context, UN is always important for the UPSC examination. Then UNSC, we have already seen UNSC in the last weekly roundup. You can go and see that lecture. We will see that there are 15 members. So 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. And you have to write that what is the term of the non-permanent member. We have discussed this in the last session. Then there is ECOSOC. So ECOSOC have the 54 members, and its responsibility is that to promote economic, social and environmental conservation. So this is the purpose of the ECOSOC. What was the purpose of the Trusteeship Council? So Trusteeship Council was formed to give the sovereignty and independence to the colonies of the Axis powers, that is Germany, Italy and Japan, and till they get the independence, the Trusteeship Council had the responsibility to look after them. Then there is ICJ, International Court of Justice, and it is at Hague. And it see important treaties and its implementation related to UN. And then Secretariat, which see all the important aspect of the UN and administrative aspect of the UN. So this is about the 6 main organs. Then there are 15 specialized agencies, and you all know that WHO, World Bank, IMF, then UNESCO, then WMO. So these are some of the specialized agencies. Please remember that World Trade Organization is not specialized agency of the UN. Then also there are some of the initiatives such as UNDP, United Nations Environmental Program, then UN Habitat. These are not specialized agencies. These are the programs of the United Nations. So this is about the UN and its bodies and its structure. Now we will see what are the key observations related to international law. So the first is that the violations of the UN Charter and the international law. We are watching that illegal use of force, attack on the civilian infrastructure and violation of the human rights is taking place, especially in the Gaza, then Ukraine, and then there was recently attack by the US on the Venezuela, which is also against the international law, because there was no aggression by the Venezuela on the US, and still US used the force to destabilize the government. So this is all the violation of the UN Charter. Then a la carte menu, which means the developed nations are actually abiding by the international law when it is for their benefits, but they are not abiding it every single time, and that is why selective adherence actually hampers the international law, and then there is erosion of trust among the nations, and in this case there will be anarchy and there will be no global order in the world. So this is the key observation recently taking place in the world. Now we will see about the international law. What is the international law? So it is defined as the legal responsibilities of the states in their conduct with each other and their treatment of individual within the state boundaries. So how they are behaving with each other as a state or the independent nations, and how they are treating their individual citizens within the country, both is coming under the international law. And who gave this concept? So this concept was given by the Jeremy Bentham. Now this Jeremy Bentham is also very important in your ethics, as he gave the utilitarian principle. And what is utilitarian principle? So utilitarian principle is that higher good of the larger masses. So this is very important in your GS paper also. Please go and see what is the utilitarianism in the detail. It is very important when you are solving the case studies. So this is about the Jeremy Bentham. Now we will see that international law regulates the global commons. And what are the global commons? So global commons are the things which cannot be controlled or managed by the single nation. And which are those things? Such as space, oceans, right? Then internet. So these are the things which cannot be controlled by the single nation, and there is requirement of the cooperation of the various countries, and those are the things which are the global commons. And if global commons have to work properly, then there should be international law and the regulations. Then what is the significance of the international law? So first significance is for the less power and the smaller countries. If they have to retain their independence and the sovereignty against the larger nation, then there should be some law and regulation by which the international order should function. Then secondly, powerful countries should have some the limitation or the girdles in the times of disagreement and the division or the conflict. So this is the significance of the international law. Now we will see how the priorities and actions are there for upholding the international law. First is that upholding the UN Charter. We already discussed it, what is the UN Charter and what is its importance. Then secondly, there is peaceful dispute settlement, and we already seen that it can be through the negotiation, mediation and the judicial settlements such as ICJ. So this is the second point. And the third point is that greater reliance on independent court and tribunals such as ICJ and other things. India also have its own doctrine, that is Gujral doctrine. So it was given by I.K. Gujral in 1996-97, who was our prime minister, and he gave the Gujral doctrine to treat our neighbors with the respect and to have the harmony between the India and its neighbors. So you can quote such kind of doctrines in your examination. So this is all about UN, its function and its relevance to maintain the international law and order. Now we will see main UN bodies which are upholding the international law. We have already discussed it. United Nations Security Council, we already saw, and how United Nations Security Council can implement it. So it have various mechanisms, and which are those mechanisms? Firstly, it can impose sanction, and this sanction can be political or economic sanction. Secondly, they can send peacekeeping missions to bring this law and order in any particular country, and then they can also take military action directly. So this is very rare, but UNSC can actually take military action if there is large scale international law violation. So this is the United Nations Security Council. Then UN General Assembly, and how it can do it. So the 6th committee of the UNGA is the primary forum for the consideration of the legal questions in the General Assembly, and then they can pass resolutions regarding the various issues in the international law and its breach. So these are some of the organs. Then ICG is there. We already discussed is that the ICG is there to enforce the international law and particularly United Nations laws and various regulations. So these are some of the important bodies which are actually helping to keep the international law going. Now we will see related question about it, and the first question is about, with reference to the United Nations General Assembly, consider the following statement. First statement is that UNGA can grant observer status to the non-member states. Then secondly, intergovernmental organization can seek observer status in the UNGA. And thirdly, permanent observers in the UNGA can maintain the mission at the UN headquarters. So the answer of this question is D, that is all of the above. Non-governmental organization actually will not or cannot get the observer status. Other three statements are correct. So this is it. Also please remember that about UN there is always one question regarding the UN main organs or their programs or specialized agencies. So please keep it in mind and please read it very carefully to solve the questions. Now we will see another question. The question is from the 2025, and the question is that the reform process in the United Nations remains unresolved because of the delicate imbalance of the East, West, and the entanglement of the USA versus the Russo-Chinese alliance. Examine. So please remember, in this aspect UNSC can be reformed, and there are two processes. Firstly, UNGA will pass the resolution by the 2/3 majority, and then that resolution will go to the UNSC. And if UNSC have to increase the permanent member for say, then P5 or the permanent member have to accept that proposal, and it is very difficult because there is differences between US and Russo-Chinese. If USA approves it, Russia or China will oppose it, or Russia or China approves it, USA will oppose it. So this veto power is actually one of the impediment in the United Nations structural reforms. So these are some of the points you can write on this line. Then there is another question, that is discuss the impediments India is facing and its pursuit of the permanent seat at the UNSC. We already discussed it. Then we can also write the copy club which is opposing the UNSC reforms. All those points can be written in this answer. So this is all about the second main news. Now we will see third main news of the day. So third main news of the day is about mother of all deals, and that is India European Union landmark free trade agreement. This is very important for GS paper 2, that is bilateral, regional and global groupings and the agreements. In this we will see why it is considered as the mother of all deals, what are its significance, what are the nitty-gritties in this deal, and what is the other important instruments signed in the India-US summit. So let's start the discussion of the day. So we already discussed, this is the largest such deal ever concluded by the either side and will strengthen the economic and political ties between the world's second and fourth largest economies. Please understand. So this is said that world's second and the fourth largest economies. So the second largest country by the GDP is China. But when we are considering economies, then European Union is the second largest. And what is the First largest, that is USA, we all know, then China, then Germany, and then India. So India surpassed the Japan to become the fourth largest economy. But when we are considering economies and not countries, then European Union is the second largest economy. So please remember this fact, and why it is considered as the mother of all deals. So firstly, this deal will actually cover 1/4 of the GDP of the world. Then it will cover 2 billion peoples, right? And almost 1/3 of the world trade is done by these two economies. So that is why it is very important. Then secondly, these negotiations were going on from the 2007, and after such a long time it have been finalized. There were a lot of differences on the basis of agriculture, automobile sector, then spirits and liquor, data. So these were the impediments, but now we have signed this deal and it covers almost all the things, that is goods trade, then services, then investment, then mobility of the people, then also IPR, then sustainable development and environmental protection. So this deal covers a lot of things and all the things which can be covered in any deal, and that is why it is called as mother of all deals. So this is about the background of this. Also please remember that European Union have the one of the important destination for Indian exports. So it is the largest importer of the Indian goods. In this scale, when services and goods combine, USA is India's largest trade partner. But if we just consider goods, then European Union is our largest trade partner in terms of goods. So these are the some of the facts we should remember. Secondly, we are in trade surplus, and it is expected that by 2033 our trade will be doubled because of the trade agreement we signed recently. So these are the some of the backgrounds about this news. Now we will see important aspect of the deal. So let's see about the India European Union free trade agreement. So this is giving the strategic market access, and please remember that India will get preferential access in the 97% of the EU tariff lines, covering almost 99.5% of the trade value. So this is not same for the European Union, but European Union also have got some of the access. And important point is that India have got the duty free access for the labor intensive sectors such as leather, then textile. So these are the sectors which were affected because of the USA's tariffs on India, and now India will have the advantage over the other competitors such as Bangladesh, Philippines, which are also importing the cheaper textiles and leather products. So India will have the edge over these countries. Secondly, India have given the some of the access to the European Union, especially automobile. So it will be in phase manner. So presently India is applying 110% duty on these automobiles, but with the period, with 10 years, this duty will be reduced to 10%. Around 2.5 lakh vehicles will be permitted under this duty by the India. So these are the some of the issues. Then secondly, in aviation sector, The component related to aviation sector have been given the duty-free access in the India, and this is very significant because it will be blow to the Boeing, that is the US manufacturer. So these are the some of the nitty-gritties of the thing. The second thing is that safeguard to sensitive sectors. So India have also taken some of the measures such as including dairy, cereals, poultry, soya meal and certain fruits have been excluded, and that way India will promote the welfare of the farmers of India and protect them from the flooding of the European dairy products and other things. Then product specific rules. So there are product specific rules such as self certification through the statement of the origin, and it will be very important for the quotas and transition period for the MSMEs. So MSMEs will not be actually having immediate competition from these countries and their products. So this is also very important. These are the some of the points which are there and which are important for our consideration. Now we will see another points also. So next point is that tackling non-tariff barriers. So it is also talking about the non-tariff barriers, and there will be strengthened regulatory cooperation, greater transparency and streamlining customs related to sanitary and phytosanitary measures and technical barriers to the trade disciplines, such as carbon tax which can be implemented by the European Union. Then there are phytosanitary measures such as processes, clean energy. So such measures cannot impede the trade, and there is mechanism to see that such measures will not affect the trade and the movement of the goods. Then services trade is also been included. This is very important because services is one of the sector where India have the limited access in the European markets, but now services trade will be there, and stable market access in the European Union's 144 services and subsectors including IT, education, R&D and professional services. So professional services and other services will get the boost because of this agreement. And then ease of mobility. Why ease of mobility is important for the European Union? Because in many of the European Union countries there is demographic winter. And what is demographic winter? So demographic winter is the condition where the population of the country is actually declining and the aged population of the country is greater than the working age population. In that condition, there will be no sufficient labor to work in the economy, and then economic growth will be impacted. So in that case, ease of mobility is very important because now Indian workers and skilled workers can go to these countries and actually work in the industries and do the research and other things. So this is very important. In India, we have the demographic transition. So in demographic transition, we have the large workforce and we can actually complement the demographic winter which is taking place in the Europe, particularly Germany, Italy and all those countries. So this is about the key important aspect of the trade deal we sign. Then there are some of the other key outcomes which happened at the India-EU summit. And what are those outcomes? First is about towards 2030. So this is the joint India-European Union comprehensive strategic agenda, and this covers key points such as sustainability, technology, innovation, and very important, security and defense. So this is the main point. Then there is security. So in security, we will actually have the security and defense partnership, and we'll try and we'll have the India-EU security for the information agreement. So India actually have the information sharing agreement with the US, and now we will also have that agreement with the European Union. So the negotiation are going in this direction. Then there is emerging and critical technologies. So emerging technologies such as AI and other things, EU India innovation hubs will be created, and there will be launch of EU India startup partnership to have the emerging technologies research and development with each other. Then there is consultation on the green hydrogen task force, which is also important for the clean energy transformation. And lastly, science and technology. So there will be renewal of India European Union agreement on scientific and technological cooperation for the period 2025 to 2030. So these are the key aspects of the India European summit and the India European free trade agreement. Please remember, the question can be asked in this regard. Also please remember that regarding the European Union, there have been always question asked about the various laws which European Union passes. So you should give the emphasis about the European Union's law, and please solve other MCQs also. There are various MCQs related to European Union. So we have given here two, but you can also solve other MCQs also. The first is that broad-based trade and investment agreement BTIA is sometimes seen in the news in the context of negotiation held between India and these negotiations, as we already discussed, were going on from the 2007, and the answer is about A, that is European Union. So this is the one question. Secondly, consider the following countries. As we know that India is signing the free trade agreement with the various countries, such as we have signed it with the New Zealand, then we have signed with recently with UK, then UAE. So we have signed these agreements. So please remember that we have signed various agreements with these countries, and question can be asked regarding it. This question is regarding the free trade partners of the ASEAN, and Australia is the partner, Canada is not the partner, China is partner, India is partner, Japan is the partner, USA. So where is 6? It is gone. Then where is 2? So answer is C. Right? 1, 3, 4 and 5. So this is all about the third main news. Now we will see the fourth main news of the day. Fourth main news of the day is regarding the entrepreneurial state. So this new term is coined by the economic survey, and in this thing we will see what is the need of transition towards the entrepreneurial state. This is very important for GS paper 3, that is Indian economy and issues related to growth and development. Here please see this diagram. We can see entrepreneurial state have some of the aspect, and which are those aspects? That is learning from the failures, and we should learn from the failures and accordingly shape our policies for the better economic development and for the economic and industrial growth. Then outcome focused. So there should not be focus on the law abiding bureaucracy, but the focus should be outcome, and outcome should be development and prosperity. So the policies should be outcome focused. Then there should be risk taking approach, and in this case we will see one of the classic example, that is S.C. Gupta, and then there is strategic support. So what is these parameters for the entrepreneurial state, we will see in the discussion. So what is the background? So already discussed that the economic survey calls for the entrepreneurial state just like East Asian economies. So East Asian economies in 1990s adopted entrepreneurial state model, where state actually help through policies, economic, industrial growth. So state itself is not involved in the industry or production, but they through policies help to grow. And then the concept was popularized by the economist Mariana Mazzucato. So this is about the entrepreneurial state. Now we will see what it is and what are the various characteristics of the entrepreneurial state. The first characteristic, as we already discussed, that is the risk structuring, and that means that the state acts before this certainty emerges or the proactively by structuring the risk. What does it mean? It means that now industrial revolution 4.0 is happening, and there will be large scale upheaval in the employment. There will be changing nature of the employment, and the older employment will be redundant. In that case, state should take proactive measures for the skill development in these emerging technologies. So this is one of the aspect and one of the example how state can actually take various steps and structuring the risk which is coming our way. That is the one aspect. Then second aspect is that institutional learning. And what is the institutional learning means? It involves moving from the compliance to capability, where the state learns to fail. And what does it mean? So it means that if state frames one policy, right, and that policy is not working, then what state does? State frames the another policy by learning the lesson from the first policy. For example, in India, for industrial growth, India started the SEZ. Then SEZ were not too effective, then industrial corridors with SEZs. So policies get evolved with the time, and institutional learning is that by the policies we actually frame the more effective and the more refined policies. So this is the case. And second thing is that the efforts are not on the compliance. There are rules, and bureaucracy should not always rely on the compliance of the rules, but capability. They should take the measures which will actually help to increase the capability of the economy or the state or the industries. So this is the second point. Then there are some of the features of the bureaucracy in the entrepreneurial state, and the first thing is that outcome oriented bureaucracy. Many times what happens, that bureaucracy is there permanently and they don't take risk. Why they don't take risk? They just follow rules because there is no any leverage or there is no any benefits by taking the risk. So what they do, they just follow the rules, but in that process the outcomes are very minimal, but they are not judged on that basis. So firstly there is bureaucracy, and that is outcome oriented bureaucracy. The same example can be seen in the Korea. So in Korea, when bureaucracy takes some decision, and if that decision is not successful, so bureaucracy is not get punished, but that decision is reversed, and then new decision or new policy is formed. And by that way bureaucracy is also encouraged to take the new decision, new policy making, and new ways to have the economic growth and entrepreneurial zeal. So this is one point in the bureaucracy. Then failure to tolerance with the learning. If the failure is there and their intentions are bona fide, then they should not be punished. That is the second point. And then credible withdrawal of the support. What is the credible withdrawal of support? So many times what happens, that state gives some of the benefits to the for example MSME, and when they give some support, then MSME are actually not rising, because after MSME rise to some level, then this support is cut off, and this concept is called as dwarfism. In one of the economic survey recently, the term was given dwarfism. Dwarfism means what? That industries get the support from the government, and because industries are getting support, if they are MSME, they will never become big because they actually want support, and that is why they are not rising. So this is one of the concept. So state should learn that they should withdraw support at some point of time. This is also very important in this concept. Exit is important as like the entry. And what is not the entrepreneurial state? The entrepreneurial state is not the commercialization of the state, such as the state capitalism, where state itself is involved in the production or the company or the other services. That is not what is entrepreneurial state means, and it does not have the also privileges of the private interest. So it also doesn't promote the privileges of the private interest, but it actually having the policies where all the individuals can have the equal opportunities and policies to grow. So this is all about, and aim of the entrepreneurial state to empower the state to act as the strategic partnership with the private sector innovation. So this is all about the entrepreneurial state and its characteristics, right? Now we will see why entrepreneurial governance is tough. The first point is that asymmetric incentives, the culture of risk aversion in the bureaucracy. We already discussed that the bureaucracy doesn't want to take risk because there is no reward of taking any risk. But if there is any problem, so that particular bureaucrat will be punished very severely. That is the one thing. Then there is retrospective scrutiny. So what happens if some decision is taken as the bureaucrat, then after some time with 10-15 years, there will be retrospective scrutiny, and even if their intention of bona fide, they will be implicated. So the best example is S.C. Gupta, who was the coal secretary around 2008, and he was implicated in the coal block scam case, and he was actually got punished in some of the cases. Actually, S.C. Gupta was very upright and had the impeccable integrity and very honest officer. After getting retired, he didn't even had the money to contest the case, and then other officers came forward and gave him the lawyer to contest the cases. If you are honest officer and your decision which are bona fide actually implicating you in some of the cases and actually is the way of harassing you, then other bureaucrats will also not take risk and will have the risk aversion attitude. This is the one thing. Please remember that this can be written in your ethics paper. Then there is stigmatization of the failure. If there is a failure of any policy or the policy framework, then that bureaucrat will be having the stigma in the bureaucracy. So this is also one point, and such reversible failures should be acceptable, and experiment should be there. Without experiment, there can be better policy or the better decisions. If there will be always process of the perfect policy, then there will be delay in the policy making. So this is one point also. And then there is no standardized metrics. When there is some policy, you cannot expect that that policy will effectively have the larger revenue generation in the shorter period of time. It takes some time, it will have the longer effect, and that payoff are often the long term and the non-linear. So there should be consideration of the standardized. There is no standardized metrics in measuring the performance of the bureaucracy. And then lastly, there is democratic system. So what happens in democratic system? The politician is there for the 5 years. Bureaucrats are there for the permanent period of time till the retirement. So what happens? The politicians want some popular measures, and bureaucrat doesn't want such hasty decision because it can actually have the negative impacts. So there should have the balance between the political system and the bureaucracy. So these are the some of the problems to have the entrepreneurial state. So what economic survey suggests? So economy survey suggests that the subtler division of the labor. So political leadership should give the directions and the priorities, And then bureaucracy should discover pathways, solve problems, and adopt the policy instruments. So this should be the way forward in this case, right? So this is all about the entrepreneurial state. Now we'll see the questions which can be asked from this topic. So UPSC have the knack of asking question related to key terms used in the economic survey. Such question is that distinguish between the care economy and monetized economy. How can care economy be brought into the monetized economy through the women empowerment? So this was discussed by the economic survey in 2023 and the question was asked on it. Also, secondly, see this question: do you agree that Indian economy has the recently experienced V-shaped recovery? Give reason. The first chapter of the economic survey was about the V-shaped recovery, and the same question was asked related to it. So entrepreneurial state can be asked in this year or in coming years. So please remember the term and see what are the concept as the economic survey suggests. This is all about the fourth main news. Now we will see last main news of the day. So last main news of the day is about river deltas, as over half of the Indian major river deltas are sinking as per the study. This is very important for GS paper 1, that is physical geography, and GS paper 3, that is environment and ecology and its impact, right? So in this thing we will see what are the observation in the study which is published by the Nature. Then we will see what is the deltas, what are their significance. So let's see the development. So what is the background? Ganga, Brahmaputra, Nile, Mekong, Yangtze, Amazon, Irrawaddy and Mississippi, these are some of the major rivers of the world and accounts for nearly 57% of the total subsidizing deltas areas worldwide. So this is one point. We will see what types of deltas are there in the subsequent discussion, right? Now we will see what is the key reasons for the sinking. So report itself state that the excessive groundwater extraction is the one reason. Why? Because if there is this groundwater and river is flowing here, and this is the delta have the sediment deposition here. When groundwater is extracted, this area is very shallow and it doesn't have water. So what happens? The pressure of this soil actually pushes this area down, and that is why there is subsidence of the delta. This is the one point. Then second point is land subsidence. So between 2014 to 2023, almost 50% deltas have the subsidence rate exceeding 3 millimeter per year globally, and in that Brahmini and the Mahanadi are the one of the fastest where the land subsidence is the highest. Please remember this thing. Then there is reduced seasonal silt deposit. What happens? So river is flowing like this and this is the sea. So what happens when a river comes here? It deposits the silt here. But now what is happening? There is dam here, there is dam here, there is dam here. So all this dam actually obstruct the silt which is coming the delta side, and that is why there is not sufficient silt at the deltas, and this is the reason that deltas are actually decreasing, and that is why their size is also reducing. This is one reason ki reduced seasonal silt deposits are reducing, and that is why their elevation is also decreasing, right? So these are some of the key reasons for the sinking of the deltas, right? Now we will see what are the river deltas. So this is the depositional feature of the river, and what happens? River bring silt and deposition and deposit it before it merges into sea or the ocean, and this is called as delta. So this is the depositional feature, please remember. And what are the condition for the formation? So flow of the river must be slow and steady enough for the silt deposition and the built up of the, if the river is very fast, so there cannot be deposition of delta. What will happen? All that water and the silt will go into the ocean and there will be no deposition of delta. The question was asked previously that why there is no deltas in Western Ghats. We will see, but one of the reason is that the rivers are very fast flowing and they are not slow. So this is one of the reason. And then what is the significance of deltas? So they just occupy 1% of the land, but they support around 6% of the global population and host 10 of the world's 34 mega cities such as Kolkata. So these are the cities which are there on the deltas. So please remember these facts. These are the various things which are there. Now we will see various type of deltas, and which are those deltas? The first is that Arcuate delta, then Cusped delta, then bird foot type delta, then Estuarine delta, then inverted delta, and there are also categorization on where that delta is located, that is subaqueous and subaerial. We will see what are these deltas. So arcuate deltas are the deltas where arc is formed by the river, and this delta which is in arc form is called as arcuate delta. Then Cusped delta, the Cusped delta is like the river form the delta like the teeth, and this is called as Cusped delta. Then bird foot type of delta, so it will have the various tributaries at the last leg and it will look like a bird's foot, so it is called as bird foot delta. Then Estuarine delta, what is the Estuarine delta? So when river actually merges with the sea, so this area where the sea water and the river water is actually mixing, that is an estuary, and if there is formation of delta, that is called as Estuarine delta. So there is also a inverted delta. Now what is inverted delta? So inverted deltas are the deltas where river where meets the ocean, this is actually narrow and delta is formed behind that, so it is like a inverted shape. So that is why this is the arcuate and this is inverted of that, so that is the inverted delta. So these are the some of the delta types. Then if the delta which is in the water, that is the subaqueous delta, and the delta which is above the water, that is called as the subaerial delta. So these are the various types of deltas, and this is information of about the river delta. Now we will see what are the various measures to protect the deltas. First is that the integrated approach. So what is the integrated approach? There is issue of the subsidence and there is sea level rise. So there should be an integrated approach where both these things should be work together and not in silos. So that is the one thing. Then secondly, there is targeted interventions. And what does it mean? So see, sea level rise is the global phenomena. You cannot do about it at the local level, and you should intervene at the international level. But at the delta sinking, you can actually take the steps at the localized level, and there should be policies to tackle these challenges at the local level. So this is also one thing. And then advanced monitoring, and advanced monitoring using the satellite technology such as INSAR, that is informatics synthetic aperture radar for monitoring the surface, and by that way there should be a effective policies to reduce the delta sinking. So these are the some of the measures. Now we will see what are the significance of the deltas, and the first significance is the ecological services. What are the services it provides? So it provides the water filtration, then high level of ecological productivity and dynamism, because the silts have the higher nutrients, so it is very helpful for the agriculture also. Then there is important wetland habitations, so such as plants like lilies and hibiscus grow in deltas, and these are the medicinal plants. So various medicinal plants are there, and also apex predators such as tigers in the Sundarbans are also there in the delta region. So this is also important for the biodiversity of the region. And then protection. So it absorbs the runoff from the both floods and from the storms, and this way disaster management can happen. So this is the importance of the deltas. Now we will see the question related to it asked in the previous year, and the question is that there is no formation of deltas by the rivers of the Western Ghats. Why? And as we already discussed, the flow is very fast, there is no deposition, then these rivers are very short, then seasonal. So these rivers are seasonal, so there is lack of deposit, then these rivers are very short, so there is no sufficient scope to have the accommodation and accumulation of the silt to deposit, right? Also these rivers are very fast, as we already discussed. So these are the some of the issues. Then also there are various earthquakes in the Western Ghats, and also topography. So these are some of the points you can write and can write the answer. So this is all about the main news of the this week. So we'll see the personality in news, and personality in news this week is Lala Lajpat Rai. What is the context? So Prime Minister paid tribute to Punjab Kesari Lala Lajpat Rai ji on his birth anniversary. Now we will see what are his contribution in the Indian freedom movement. So Lala Lajpat Rai was important in the trio of Lal Bal Pal. So Lal is Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal is Bal Gangadhar Tilak, and Pal is Bipin Chandra Pal. So this is the one fact. Now he was the extremist faction of the Indian National Congress, as we already know. Then he was elected as the president of the Indian National Congress at the Calcutta session of 1920. Please remember this fact. And he was also elected as the All India Trade Union Congress in 1920. So these are the two important aspects of his presidency in Indian National Congress and AITUC. Then which are the organizations or the movement he established? The first movement is that Hindu Relief Movement, then Hindu Home Rule League of America, and the Servants of People Society. In this context, please remember that Lala Lajpat Rai ji met Dr. Ambedkar in USA and asked him to join the Indian national movement and activities. But Ambedkar ji refused, because Ambedkar ji said that the Sayajirao Gaikwad of the Baroda gave him scholarship to study, and he wanted to concentrate on the studies at that time. So please remember this fact also. Then his role was very important in establishment of Punjab National Bank, right? Then we will see his literary contributions. And what are the contribution? What he wrote? The People, the journal, and then contributed for the Tribune, which is the newspaper. So these are the literary contribution. He also wrote some of the books. And which are those books? So he authored Unhappy India, then Young India and Interpretation, and then History of Arya Samaj, then England's Debt to India, and the series of popular biographies of Mazzini, Garibaldi, and the Swami Dayanand. So this is all about his contribution. How he died? So Simon Commission came for the suggesting the constitutional reforms for India, and he was actually opposing those reforms and having the procession against it, and in that he was lathicharged by the Britishers, and that he died in the hospital later on. So this is all about the Lala Lajpat Rai. Now we will see quick updates of the last week. So first quick update of the day is Paris Agreement. And what is the development? So USA have officially used the Paris Climate Agreement for the second time. Right. Now we will see what is the Paris Agreement and what is the background of Paris Agreement. So it was adopted at UNFCCC COP21 at the Paris in 2015 and enter in the force 2016, and it recognizes climate change as the global emergency requiring the international cooperation, right? And it is the legally binding international treaty. Please remember that this is the legally binding international treaty. Now we will see the core objective of the treaty. The first core objective is that the hold global temperature rise well below the 2 degrees Celsius pre-industrial levels, and then pursue effort to limit the warming to the 1.5 degrees Celsius, acknowledging the reduced climate risk. Here NDC is also there. NDC is nationally determined contribution. So each country will have the nationally determined contribution under it. Then there is also financial provisions, and developed countries will have the obligation to give the finances for the climate change mitigation. So this is about the climate change and the Paris Agreement related to it. USA is leaving various international organizations, and one of such is the Paris Agreement. Now we will see about the gig workers welfare board. So gig workers are in news because of their strike on the new year and various other issues. So what is the development? So development is that the Karnataka had constituted gig workers welfare board. So Karnataka have the law regarding it, and under it they have constituted the board. So we will see about this board. So it is constituted under the Karnataka Platform Based Gig Workers Social Security and Welfare Development Act of 2025. Such act is there in Karnataka, and also in the Rajasthan there are some of the provisions. So please remember this fact. Then the labor minister will be the ex officio chairperson of this board, and labor minister here, labor minister of the Karnataka will be the ex officio chairperson, and it includes representative of the gig worker unions and the aggregator platform. So both the aggregator platform owners will be there, and also the gig workers unions representative will be there. And what is the mandate? So it mandates registration of the aggregators and the gig workers, and when there will be registration, there will be welfare measures which can be taken by the government, and it will facilitate state governments move to implement the various welfare measures for the gig workers. So this is all about the gig worker welfare board. Now we will see next quick update, and next quick update is about World Health Organization. As we already discussed it in the UN related news, it is the specialized agency of the UN. And what is the development? Again, the United States have officially completed the withdrawal procedure from the WHO, and in this context, please remember that USA was the largest donor of the WHO. So this is the development. Now we will see about the WHO as we discuss. So it was established in 1948, and it is the specialized agency out of 15 of the United Nations. Then its headquarters is in Geneva, Switzerland. And what is the mandate of the WHO? So the mandate is that it directs the global health responses, set international norms, and declares public health emergencies of the international concerns. So this is the mandate of the WHO. And what is the governor structures? So it have the World Health Assembly, supreme decision making body. Then there is executive board. So executive board actually implement the policies, and there is secretariat which see the various things which is related to administrative procedure, and it is actually headed by the director general. So this is about the governance. And what is about the membership? So it comprises of the 194 members and open to all UN members. So please remember, all UN members can join the WHO, and India is the founding member of the WHO. So this is all about the WHO. Now we'll see the next quick update of the day. So next quick update of the day is that aspirational district program. And what is the development? Niti Aayog have launched Sampurnata Abhiyan 2.0 to undertake the efforts to achieve the performance in the aspirational districts and aspirational blocks program. Now we'll see what is the aspirational district program and aspirational blocks program. Firstly, we'll see aspirational district program. So these both programs actually launched by the Niti Aayog, please remember that. And aspirational district program was launched in 2018. And what is the aim of this program? To quickly and effectively transform 112 districts across the country. First, this number was 100, but later it was extended to 112. Please remember this. And there are 5 themes. And which are those 5 themes? Health and nutrition, education, agriculture and water resources, and financial inclusion and skill development, and finally infrastructure. Same on this basis, aspirational block program, which was announced in the union budget in 2022-23, was launched, and it is also under the Niti Aayog as already discussed. And what is the aim of this? So it is aiming for the saturation of the essential government services in 513 blocks in 329 districts across the country. So this is all about the aspirational district program and the block program. Please remember this. Now we'll see next quick update. And the next quick update is about the Kalbelia. And Kalbelia is the community. What is the context? So NHRC issues notice to the Rajasthan government over the burial rights demanded by the Kalbelia community. Now we'll see what is the Kalbelia community and what are their features. So this is the nomadic tribe from the Thar desert of Rajasthan, mainly Pali, Ajmer and Udaipur districts, and traditionally known as the snake charmers. So now the snake charming is banned, and that is why they are actually now performing arts such as dance and playing instruments and all those things, right? So Kalbelia dance was inscribed on the UNESCO's representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of the humanity in 2010. Please remember this fact also. And in this Kalbelia dance, female are dancers while the men accompany them on the variety of musical instruments such as pungi, which is bean, then dafli, and then kanjari. So this is about the Kalbelia community and their dance and their status. Now we'll see next quick update, and that is the Nipah virus. And what is the development? So development is that as per the National Center of Disease Control, NCDC, only 2 confirmed cases of Nipah virus disease have been reported from the West Bengal from the December last year till date. So this is actually reducing. Now we'll see about the Nipah virus. So what is the nature? So it is a zoonotic disease, which means which spreads from animal to human. And which is the animal which will have the Nipah virus? So that animal is the fruit bats, also known as flying foxes, right? And how they are transmitted? So these are transmitted from animal to human by direct contact with the infected bats or the pigs, right? Then in human to human, close contact with the body fluids of the infected person can actually spread the Nipah virus, right? Then the first case was identified in 1999, outbreaks in Malaysia and Singapore, from bat to pigs to humans. So first it was transferred to bats, then to pigs and to humans, and their incubation period is 4 to 14 days. So basically in 4 to 14 days the symptoms are not even recognizable, or there will be no symptoms at all. So incubation period is 4 to 14 days, and the early symptoms are that fever, headache, cough, sore throat, difficulty in breathing. So these are the symptoms of the Nipah virus, and there is no any vaccination to the Nipah virus till date. Please remember this fact also. This is all about this week's weekly roundup. You can also visit our digital current affairs portal, where you can solve various quizzes, read various current affair related material including PT365. This is all for this week. Happy learning. Good day.